everyone, it's Jennifer from Fiberflux. Welcome back to the channel. Today we're going to learn how to crochet this gorgeous Cranberry Muffin Cocoon Cardigan. So not only is this cardigan beautiful and just a joy to wear, but it's easy to make as well. So it's simply just a square of beautiful V-stitches that I folded over, seamed, and then I added some edging to it around the neck and like kind of the collar area and the sleeves as well. So we're gonna go through this step by step and stitch by stitch. Now you can find this pattern for free on the Fiberflux blog. You can also get the ad-free pattern PDFs over in my Ravelry shop and my Etsy shop, and you can join and crochet with me today here on the channel as we make the sweater together. All the links can be found down below. Now, before we get started, be sure to hit that subscribe button to get all the latest Fiberflux video updates. I share full project tutorials like this one. I share all kinds of stitch tutorials. We do roundups where we just kind of sit around and chat about crochet. We do crochet alongs throughout the year as well. Be sure and hit that subscribe button to join in the fun. The Fiberflux community is the absolute best. We have so much fun here. So hit that subscribe button. Now let's jump in and learn how to crochet the Cranberry Muffin Cocoon Cardigan. For this project, you'll need a pair of scissors, a tapestry needle. We're going to be doing some weaving in of ends, but also seaming a little bit, so you'll need that. A tape measure will be especially helpful. We're going to talk as we go through this project about sizing. We're going to be doing, similar to my other cocoon cardigan pattern, we're going to be making a rectangle and then seaming it. So you'll need a tape measure for this to both measure the parts, like the rectangle we're going to be making, but also to measure yourself as well. We're going to be using a 5mm H crochet hook. This is my Furls wood streamline as a side note. If you'd like to get one for yourself, there's a link down below to shop everything. And then the yarn. I have 7 balls, as you can see here, of Highland wool. This is a 100% wool yarn from Hobie. It's very luxurious. It's this beautiful kind of muted tweedy raspberry color, and it's just beautiful. I'm going to be using 7 balls of this. Now, just a little bit about the yarn. Everybody always asks how to substitute. So if you need to substitute yarn, just look for a number 3 light. You can find the little yarn ball picture on your ball of yarn with a number in it. So this is a number 3 light weight yarn on the yarn weight scale. And each ball of this is 191 yards. So I'm going to be using a total of 1,337 yards of a number 3 light yarn. Now, that's for the dimensions that I shared earlier. If you need to change your sweater sizing, if you need to go bigger, obviously you'll need more yarn. If you're making yours a little smaller, you won't use as much as this. But I'm going to be using all the same color, so no striping or color changing. This is color number 35 on the color chart over at Hobie. And again, the link to get this yarn is down below, along with the hook and the supplies. And this actually recommends a 4mm G crochet hook. I'm going to go up a hook size. I did a little swatch and I liked the drape I was getting with that. So we are going to go up a hook size. But so 1,337 yards of a number 3 light and one that recommends the 4mm hook, and you'll be just fine if you need to substitute. Okay, so let's get started. Okay, I have my yarn and hook and we're ready to go. This is also an H hook, just as a side note. I think I showed a different hook at the beginning of the video, but this is the same size. So what we need to do is our starting chain. Now our starting chain is a multiple of 3 plus 1. So if you're not familiar with that, all that means is when you're doing your starting chain, you just go 3 plus 3 plus 3 plus 3 and so forth until it's the width that you need it to be, and then add one more chain onto that, okay? Okay, so we're going to do a starting chain of 166. So what we want to do first is put a slip knot on our hook. Wrap the yarn around your fingers to make a loop. Bring the yarn behind the loop, reach in with your hook, bring up that loop and tighten. Then we're just going to do 166 chains, okay? So to make a chain, wrap the yarn around the hook and bring it through the loop. That's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 161, 162, 163, 164, 165, and 166, okay? So chain 166. Now, as you can see, that's a very long starting chain, and if you stay with that within that 3 plus 1 multiple, you'll be just fine if you need to scale it to be larger or smaller, okay? So then what we're going to do is move on to row 1. For row 1, what we're going to do, and I'm going to come in a little bit so you can see, for row 1, what we'll do is in the 4th chain from the hook, so this loop here does not count. We're going to go 1, 2, 3, and 4. In that 4th chain from the hook, we're going to work our first V. Our V is going to be a double crochet, chain 1, double crochet. So to make a double crochet, wrap the yarn around the hook, insert it into that chain that we talked about, bring up a loop. You'll have 3 loops on the hook. Wrap yarn around hook, bring it through the first 2 loops, wrap yarn around hook, bring it through the last 2 loops. Then we're going to chain 1 and then 1 more double crochet in that same chain, okay? So that's our first V, okay? Then what we'll do is skip 2 chains, 1, 2, and in the chain after that, we're going to work another V. So double crochet, chain 1, and double crochet. All right, and we're just going to do this all the way across. So let's do a couple together, and then we'll kind of depart and work on this on our own. So again, skip 2 chains. In the chain after that, work a double crochet, chain 1, double crochet. Let's do a couple more together before we depart. Skip 2 chains. In the chain after that, work your next V. Double crochet, chain 1, double crochet. All right, skip 2 chains. In the chain after that, work a double crochet, chain 1, double crochet, all in the same chain. We're just going to repeat this all the way across, working our V's, same thing we've been doing. Skip 2 chains. In the chain after that, work your V. Double crochet, chain 1, double crochet, just like that, all the way across until just 3 chains are left at the other end, okay? So let's go ahead and do that, and when we rejoin, we'll finish up row 1 and move on to row 2. All right, just coming up to the end of the row, I worked my last V. We have 3 chains left, so skip the next 2 chains, and in the chain after that, we're going to work a double crochet to finish the row, okay? So here is our first row. We have a long strip of V stitches. Okay, so the next row, row 2, is the row that you'll repeat for the rest of your rectangle, okay? So what we're gonna do is chain 3, 1, 2, 3, and turn our work. And then this row is considerably easier because all we're going to do is work into the center of each V, okay? We're going to work a V into the center of each V, okay? So what you'll do is this first V that you come to, work a double crochet, chain 1, double crochet. Whoops, dropped my loop there. Next V, same thing. Double crochet, chain 1, double crochet, just like that, all the way across, okay? Hop over to the next V, same thing. Double crochet, chain 1, double crochet. And we're just gonna do this all the way across, okay? So go ahead and work across, and then when we get towards the end of row 2, we'll rejoin and finish it up. All right, just coming up to the end of row 2, working that last V, double crochet, chain 1, double crochet, and then to finish off row 2, we're just going to work a double crochet into this turning chain space. So right into the space there, just like that, and row 2 is complete. So then what we'll do is just keep repeating row 2 over and over. All right, just coming up to that last V of the row, working that double crochet, chain 1, double crochet, and then I'm going to work a double crochet into that turning chain space, and we're done. Now I don't have a ton of yarn left, not enough to make another row. So I worked a nice square, and mine happens to be 32 inches by 32 inches. And as you can see, it looks really pretty. It's going to make a lovely sweater. So before we fold it, I wanted to give you an option, and you can find some more information about this over at the blog. The link is down below, about blocking. So this is wool. Whenever you're using a natural fiber, you can wet block it. And if you're not familiar with that, that just means you kind of like soak it and then sort of pin it back and let it dry in place, and it kind of opens everything up. I was thinking about doing that for this just to kind of open up these V's a little bit and enlarge my square. So it's 32 inches by 32 inches. I want to kind of get it up to like between 35 and 40 inches by 35 to 40 inches, so make a bigger square. So I'm going to try that. Now, if you're using acrylic or a synthetic yarn, you can steam block it as well. You just kind of hover some steam from an iron. Never touch the iron to it, but you can kind of hover it over and kind of loosen up those stitches as well, okay? They also make steamers that are just for steaming garments, and you can use that as well. But I'm going to wet block this, and again, over at the blog, you can see a video on both steam blocking and wet blocking on the pattern post if you are interested in doing that as well. So the current square is 32 inches by 32 inches, but I'm gonna make mine a little bit bigger by blocking it. Again, completely optional, but I did just want to mention that as an option if you wanted to do that as well. So I'm gonna block this, and when we come back, we will learn how to seam it and where to seam it, and then we're gonna start adding some edges to our sleeves and around the collar of our cardigan as well. Once you get done crocheting, before you start to block, you'll want to weave in the ends. So go ahead and cut the yarn, wrap the yarn around the hook, and bring it through that loop. Now you can just take your tapestry needle. I like to do this, if you are blocking or not, I like to just weave in the ends before moving to the next part. So you know, they'll be out of the way and you can focus on the next part. If you want to weave in all the ends at the end, that's totally fine too. Totally up to you. All right, so we're going to go in one direction with our tail here. I'm going to just show you how to do one of these tails. There are a few, but I'm going to show you how to do one of these. We're going to go in one direction with our tail, and then we're going to come back in the other direction just to kind of lock it into place, okay? So once you get all those ends woven in, you can either block it or move on to our next part where we will be seaming it. Okay? Okay, so I blocked mine. We talked a little bit about this a minute ago, but as you can see, it kind of opened up my stitches. The V's are just really more opened up, and my square is a little bit bigger. So now it's about 40 inches by 40 inches, okay? So now what we're gonna do is we're going to fold and seam our square to get the basic shape of our cardigan, okay? So I have the square laid out, and I grabbed a piece of paper to kind of show you what I'm doing because I can't kind of fit the whole thing. You can see photos on the blog of where to seam as well. So if you hop on over there, you can use that as a diagram. But basically, we have our square. This represents our crochet square. What we'll be doing is we're going to take the corner and we're going to fold it in, and we're going to fold it in. Almost like if you've ever made like a paper airplane before. You know how you fold the two flaps down like this. So we're gonna fold our square like this, and then we're gonna fold our square on this side, okay? Now eventually this here will become the armholes, and this will become the armhole. This is where your neck will go, and this is the bottom, okay? So what we're gonna do is after we fold it, I'm gonna just show you with my pen. We're gonna leave an opening for our arms, and then we're going to, now my pen's not working. There it goes. We're gonna seam across here like that, and we're gonna seam across here like that, okay? So you'll be able to put it on and put your arms into the armholes, okay? And then the front will be open like a cardigan. Then after that, we're gonna stitch along this opening here and make a nice little edging. And we're gonna stitch along this opening and this opening to just finish it off a little bit, okay? So let's start by folding and seaming next. Again, if you hop on over to the blog, you can see the photos of me folding. Okay, so let's lay our square out. Now, just as a side note, you can see the V stitches here. I like to make them go right side up. So my V's are going this way, and the head will be, this is the top where our head will go. Okay, just as a side note. So what we're going to do, like I showed you on the paper, we're going to take this corner here of our square and we're going to fold it down, and we'll straighten everything out nice and neat in just a minute, but we're going to fold this other corner up. Okay, so go ahead and do that. Make sure everything is nice and straight. Okay, and you can see where the opening of the arm will be. So we're going to come in about halfway. Okay, so I'm going to grab my measuring tape. Now, from this point here, if we come in, it's about 20 inches, which makes sense because our square is 40 by 40. So we folded it in kind of to the middle, okay? So we're going to seam halfway in. So here's the 10-inch mark. So you just want to seam about halfway in. So here's the edge, here's the other edge, and there we go, okay? So right about here, we're going to grab a piece of yarn, and I'm going to say about 24 inches or so. I'm doing this with one hand, but I'm just going to mark that with my needle for just a minute. And we're going to thread our yarn right on here. Okay, I just marked it so that I would not lose my spot here. All right, so what you're going to do is you're going to sandwich these edges together as neatly as possible. And you're just going to go into both layers here and pull this almost all the way through until you have, I would say, 6 inches or so, and tie it. We'll weave that tail in later. You're going to have several tails here as we seam. It's just 2 seams that we are going to make, one over here and one over there. All right, so I did 2 strong knots. Okay, and we're just going to do the whip stitch across. Now, if you're not familiar with the whip stitch, all that is it's sort of like a spiral through your work. And since we're using the matching piece of yarn, it will disguise it even more, okay? So just hold these 2 edges together, and I hold it throughout. I don't really let go unless I need to kind of like slide my hand down like this. But we're gonna kind of seam them up like this all the way across until we get to that edge, okay? So go ahead and work your whip stitch all the way across. And what I like to do too is when I get about halfway in or a couple inches in, what you can do is flip this over before you get too far along and just make sure. Now that's going to be open for the armhole, but just make sure that it looks good, okay? You don't want to do the whole entire thing and then have to pull the whole thing out. So once you get a couple inches in, you can kind of just check it and make sure that it's looking pretty good. But because you're doing this pretty invisible seam and using a matching piece of yarn, it does hide it pretty well, okay? You just want to make sure you spend all the time crocheting this, that your seaming and your finish work is looking just as neat and beautiful as well, okay? And if you blocked your piece like I did, when things are more open like this, it's easier to see sloppy work. So you want to just be even neater because it is more open now, okay? If you didn't block, you still want to do neat work too, but you know, it'll be a little bit more obvious the more open your crochet fabric is, okay? All right, so go ahead and seam across, and when we rejoin, we'll look at what we've done and we'll move on to the other side. All right, just coming up to the edge here, and just make sure as you get to closer to the edge that your pieces continue to be lined up nice and neat. I kind of readjust throughout, and then when I come up to the edge here, I just want to put a little extra stitch, pull it almost all the way through, and then leave yourself a loop and then send it through there, okay? Just like that. And then I like to just go and do another loop as well, okay? And then what you can do right then and there, while you have everything here, go ahead and just weave that end in, and that'll just save you a step later, okay? So open your seam back up, and you'll want to check it to make sure your seam looks good and that you're happy with it. And then you can kind of move over to this other side. I like to go in one direction, back in the other direction to kind of lock that tail into place, make sure everything's in the right spot. give it a little snip and make sure your seam looks beautiful. Okay, we'll worry about that other tail in a minute. All right, next, what we want to do is just swivel this around, and we're going to do the same exact thing on the other side. Okay, so now we have our armhole and we have our seam. Our sweater is starting to take shape, at least on one side. Okay, so what we're going to do is the same thing. We're going to bring this corner down, slide that up. We're going to bring this corner up, and you might need to kind of fiddle with it a little bit, go back and forth a bit, bring those edges in, okay? Get them lined up properly, okay? And again, this is going to be the armhole where your arm exits the sweater. And then we have our edge here, okay? Once again, let's grab our needle. We'll do this on this side as well. So you should have from this point over here about 20 inches, which we do. So go to the halfway mark and take your edges and just mark them with your needle. I like to do that just while I cut my yarn and get everything situated, okay? So once again, we're going to cut a piece of yarn about 26 inches long, give or take. You don't want it to be too short though, because you need to be able to seam across, okay? I usually like to have a little bit more than I think I'll need, all right? I still have my yarn split. I need to give that a fresh cut. I still have my needle marking this, so I'm not going to pull it out yet. So just leave yourself a little tail, and then grab your edges, sandwich them together, and then you're just going to run this needle through. Pull it almost all the way through, leaving yourself a tail, and then just tie it right on. Same thing we did before, okay? And then you're just going to seam your way over to this edge, okay? So just do the same thing we did before. Okay, so we folded our corners in like I showed you before, and now we kind of have the rough beginnings of our cardigan. So there are going to be a couple of tails you might want to weave in, so just grab your needle again, and you can just weave those in. Now, this is inside out, so I'm just going to go along here. I'm just going to go along this seam with my tail, and you can just do the same for your tails as well. And we're just going to weave those in really quick on both sides. Okay, and like I mentioned, this is inside out, so we're going to now turn this right side out. Now, the V-stitch is reversible, but we want the seam that we just did, and you can see it's very invisible. We want that seam to be on the inside, okay? So we're going to go ahead and turn this right side out. So just kind of like put these sleeves back out on both sides, okay? Now, we're going to grab our hook again, because what we're going to do is down the neck, see this is the top, down the neck and the front all the way around is a big circle. So that makes this pretty easy to stitch. But all around the front of the opening of our cardigan, we're going to put some more solid stitches to kind of give it a band. And then we're going to do a matching band around the sleeves as well, okay? Now, I have to show you them differently because for this part, the opening, we're going to be working into the side. As you can see, our V stitches are going sideways now because we folded things down. So we're going to be working into them a little bit differently than our sleeve openings, because the sleeve openings are going to be working into the sides of our V-stitch, which is just a little bit different, but I'm going to show you both ways. Okay, we're going to be working our edging band into the opening of the cardigan first. This is where you're going to put it on. So you see up top here is the neck, we have the opening, and then we have the bottom. It doesn't really matter where you tie the yarn onto. I'm going to kind of swivel mine around and start up here at the top. Okay, now your V's might be, as you can see here, they might be facing upward and they might be upside down. But either way, when you work your stitches, you just want to make sure you're going to work 2 stitches into each V and 1 stitch in between each V. Okay, and that's kind of going to be our rule of thumb that we're going to follow here. So go ahead and tie the yarn into any spot. It could be in between a V, it can be in the middle of a V, but we're going to tie this on. Okay, we're going to start by tying our yarn in the middle of one of these V's. Excuse me. Okay, we're going to begin by tying our yarn in between any of the V's that you see, okay? Now the V's can be upside down, like I said, or right side up. It's just a matter of getting the right number of stitches in there. Okay, so I tied my yarn in between two V's, as you can see here. Now we're going to go in with our hook, bring up a loop, and now chain 3. 1, 2, 3. We're going to be working double crochet stitches. This chain 3 counts as one of our double crochet stitches. So we worked our stitch in between our V's. Now go into the next V. Either it's going to be facing up or it's going to be upside down. Doesn't matter. You still want to do the same number. Because we folded, sometimes your V's may change directions as you move around this big circle we're going to be working into, okay? So go into that first V and you're going to work 2 double crochets, just like that, okay? Go in the space in between the next 2 V's and work 1 double crochet, excuse me. Next is a V. Work 2 double crochets in there, 1 and 2. And if you notice, I'm holding my tail along the edge as I work to weave that in as I go along, okay? Go in the space in between the next 2 V's and work 1 double crochet. Go in the middle of the next V and work 2 double crochet. And we're just going to kind of follow this rule all the way around, and that will disperse our stitches nice and evenly. Now they still look a little bit like V's right now, but they're going to straighten out. It's going to kind of blend into a more solid band, okay? But we just have to make sure on this round that we're putting the right number of stitches and we're kind of dispersing them evenly, okay? So we're not putting chains in between or anything like that, okay? So do 1 double crochet in between the V's, 2 double crochet in the next V, okay? Just like that. And you're just going to do this all the way around your entire circle, okay? So I'm going to go around and do that, and then we'll move on to round 2. Round 2 is the round that you can repeat as many times as you want to get the thickness of the collar or band, edging, whatever you want to call it, that you like, okay? So again, just to recap, we're going to do 1 double crochet in between each V and 2 double crochet in the middle of each V, all the way around. And again, it doesn't matter if that V is pointing upward or pointing downward. It will change directions as you move around the circle, okay? So keep doing that, and then we'll move on to round 2. Okay, so just continue all the way around, working that same sequence that we talked about. And when we rejoin, I'll show you how to finish up this round where we're kind of just setting up the foundation of our edging. And then I'll show you how to move on to the next round. Okay, so for this row is much easier than the previous row. All we're going to do is chain 3, 1, 2, 3. This counts as a double crochet. So that stitch you see at the base of this chain 3, that's not, we're not going to work into that. We're going to go to this next one. Actually, let me move this from underneath so you can see better. So I did a chain 3, and then we're going to go not at the bottom here of this loop, but this next stitch, work a double crochet into that stitch, and in every stitch all the way around. So super easy, just chain 3 and then a double crochet in each stitch around. So I'm going to keep going and repeat this round and build some width on our cardigan. And then when we rejoin, we're going to move on to the sleeves. Okay, now we have our sleeves to deal with. So what we're going to do is, if you notice, we have some side spaces. You can see they're quite large, okay, all along the edge here. So what we're going to do for those is grab your yarn, and we're going to insert our hook into any of those side spaces. So remember when we worked our V-stitch, we did turning chains and turn, so those created some side spaces, all right? So we're going to insert our hook into any of these side spaces, your choice. Just like that, and we're just going to tie our new yarn right on here. And then what we're going to do is you can, again, hold this tail along the edges you work, and that will weave that in. That'll save you a little step. Okay, so all you're going to do is insert your hook in that same space, bring up a loop, and then chain 3. 1, 2, 3. That counts as a double crochet. So then in that same space, you're just going to work 1 double crochet. Okay? Now, for the remaining opening of our sleeve, what we're going to do, and you can hold that tail along the edges you work, is work 2 double crochets in each side space all the way around. So 1 and 2 and 1 and 2, all the way around. 2 double crochets in each side space, okay? So I'm going to go ahead and do that, and then when we rejoin, we'll finish up this round and move on to our next round. And you can see, just if you quick look, you can see those side spaces look like big loops all along the edge of our work, okay? So go ahead and work 2 double crochets in each side space, and we'll rejoin in just a minute. Okay, just coming up to the last side space that we're going to encounter here. And then what we're going to do is we're going to count, we're going to close the round, similar to how we did the other part in the front part of the cardigan. We're going to count 3 chains up and close with a slip stitch. So insert the hook into that 3rd chain up, bring up a loop, bring that loop through the loop already on your hook. And then our sleeve has a nice little band on it now, okay? So now we've sort of set up our stitches. And if you kind of remember, this is sort of the way we did the opening of the cardigan as well. So once again, for round 2 of our sleeve, we're going to chain 3. 1, 2, 3. This counts as a double crochet. And then the stitch down here at the base, because this counts as a double crochet, we're not going to work into that stitch. We're going to hop over to the next stitch and work a double crochet into that, okay? So work a double crochet into that stitch and in every stitch all the way around. This round's much easier. So I'm going to go ahead and work my double crochets all the way around. And then for this round 2, this is the round that you just repeat over and over and over for as wide as you want your little sleeve band to be, okay? So I'm going to keep working my double crochets, and when we rejoin, our sleeve band will have some width on it, and then we can repeat it for the other sleeve, okay? So go ahead and just work double crochets in each stitch around, and work this round as many times as you want to, or as much yarn as you have, until your sleeve little edging is as wide as you would want it to be, okay? So when we return, I'll show you how many rounds I did, how wide it is, and then we'll go on from there. All right, just working that last stitch of our sleeve. We've done both sleeves now and the front of it. So I'm just going to join with a slip stitch to close the round. And I don't have a lot of yarn left, so we're just going to stop right here, but I am going to tell you how many rounds I did in just a second. So I just cut the yarn, we're going to fasten off, and then any ends that you have you'll want to weave in. So go ahead, and I'm going to kind of open this sleeve up to the inside of it, grab my needle, and just go ahead and thread your needle. Any ends that you have left, go ahead and weave those in. So we're just going to do the inside loops of these stitches the best you can. Now, this is the same color yarn, so it will blend quite a bit. If you did stripes or use some variegated yarn, just be mindful of that. What shows on the outside, you can kind of flip it over and peek every so often. And then I like to come back in the other direction to just help lock those tails into place. And then you can just give it a snip, and that's it. And then repeat for the rest of your ends, okay? Okay, I'm just going to kind of fold this in so you can see. So we have our collar neck area, like the front of the cardigan. I did 5 rounds total on this. And then each of the sleeves here and here, we did 5 rounds as well. So you can make yours longer if you like. If you want just a thin band, you can work less rounds. It's totally up to you. But I kept it the same number, 5 and 5, so it would kind of match and look nice together. And so the sleeves are done, the front is done, we can weave in all the ends, and our beautiful cardigan is complete. So that is how you crochet the Cranberry Muffin Cocoon Cardigan. Thanks so much for watching, and be sure and click the subscribe button to get all the latest Fiber Flux video updates. Thanks again!